Welcome to another episode of Never Before Released Roller Coasters here at Utah Coaster Enthusiasts. My name is Ian. I am your host and owner of the channel. This is episode 3 in a series of videos that will eventually be comprised of 7 videos in total. So just in case this is your first one in the series and you haven't seen the other 2, I recommend you go and watch them. But these are videos on where I show off my old roller coaster designs that I have designed using the program No Limits Roller Coaster Simulator. These are 10 years old, and my skills have greatly improved since then. And I have designed many roller coasters in this program. And these ones, as the name implies, were never released here on my YouTube channel. And so I'm going back to show these first ones that were never released. I decided to do this to help inspire those out there that may have just barely bought No Limits and are struggling with it, because it is a hard program to use in the beginning. But just keep working at it and your skills will also get better. So just as a warning though, sometimes I refer to No Limits as NL, as that is how it is spoken about in the No Limits community. So if you're here and you hear me referring it to that way, just realize that's what I'm talking about. I realize not everyone is an NL nerd like myself, and there you go, there's a prime example of it right there. Alright, so therefore, what I do is I take my old designs and I import them into No Limits. Now I'm importing them from the old program into the new program. There's a No Limits 1 and No Limits 2. No Limits 2 has been out for about 6 years now, and it's a much far superior program. So I import them from No Limits 1, where I have them saved, and I import them into No Limits 2, and I don't do any tinkering with them. I just show them as they are, rough cut, how they are sitting. So sometimes the import does cause the designs to be a bit more messed up than they really were, but it's not enough to really cause any problems, so I don't do any fixes with them. There is a bit of a disclaimer with the coaster I'm going to be showing off today though, as the coaster, when I imported it, didn't have any support structure, and it is a wood roller coaster, and so they look weird without any support structure. So I used No Limits 2 to generate some supports, and so they are more modern looking than they would have looked if they had been generated using No Limits 1. But the rest of the ride is how it really was. So today's roller coaster design is a literal blast from the past. Like I said before, it was my 7th roller coaster design ever, and it was a pretty ambitious one. The name of it is called the Electric Jolt. It's a launched wooden roller coaster. When I thought this up, a launched wooden roller coaster wasn't a thing. I mean, today we have one launched wooden roller coaster, that's Lightning Rod at Dollywood in Tennessee, and it was built by Rocky Mountain Construction. And this design I thought up before either of those were a thing. They weren't even around. Rocky Mountain Construction wasn't around, and Lightning Rod definitely wasn't around. And so the design I had when making this up is I wanted it to be compact and high speed and feature 2 launches. It kind of sounds like Maverick at Cedar Point when you really think about it, but in wood roller coaster style. So my skills, unfortunately, were not up to the challenge at the time, and the ride has really bad clearances and is really trimmed to death just to make it semi-survivable. And I would even say that some of the radiuses on the turns is probably tighter than would be allowed in real life. It does have some good positive and good negative G-forces, but that's about all that is good about it. So when the ride was in NL1, the tunnels were a little bit narrower than they are in NL2, so now you'll see a lot of impacts with those causing some of the clearance issues. So without further ado, let's go ahead and take a ride on the Electric Jolt, and I'll just show you what I've been talking about. Alright, so what did you think of that? I think I would like to revisit this coaster at one point, but if you want to tell me down in the comments section below whether you think I should or not, I would be great for the feedback. I do think there's a few things I would do differently if I was to do it today. I think the whole lift would be magnetic instead of using the advanced motors with magnetic launch in conjunction. I just make it all magnetic. I think I would use the RMC style lift hill with the steel structure to minimize space and open it up more. I also think I would raise up the bottom of the lift to be a little bit off the ground so that the second launch entrance could just go slide right into it, kind of like Maverick does, instead of having that weird mid-course break right off to the edge and then having some weird turn into the launch. I also think at the top I would make more like lightning rod with a small dip and a rise and then the curve drop. And I also would cut out a lot of the track length and make it a shorter ride, but make it more focused on what I want it to do, which is positive, negative G's and turns, and really utilizing the speed you get from a launch roller coaster. I'd also try to eliminate as many of the trims as I could to not make it so trimmed to death. I'm sure there's other stuff that I would get to as well, but please let me know down in the comments, again, whether you think I should revisit this ride or not and make a better, more realistic version of it. That's all I have for you today, guys. Be sure to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already by clicking on the icon on the screen. It does help out the channel for you to subscribe, and it also lets you know the minute I upload new content. Alright guys, well, thanks for watching, and I hope you have a good day.